magic to give. And the meeting's being recorded. And Don is going to do his magic to share a link with Brendan to get us live on the library's website.
We're live and recording everywhere.
Thank you, Don.
Okay, we're set?
Yes.
Okay. All right, welcome to a regular meeting of the Saratoga Springs Public Library Board of Trustees. It's a regular meeting, November 8th, 2021. The first item on the agenda is the approval of last meeting's minutes, October's meeting minutes.
And those were not included in your packet. I did want to share with you where you can find them. They were included with the packet that was sent to the board individually. They're not included in this digital packet because they are available. And I'm going to see if I can find it here. I'm going to stop this share for a minute. On the library's website, there is a section under the About Us for the Board of Trustees that actually shares drafts of the meeting minutes even before they're approved, and this is what they look like. I'm just going to go up since we're looking at. Move this for a minute. A draft of the meeting minutes there.
Okay, the only thing I thought was a little odd was that it included under public comment Manita's observations of when she was campaigning.
Right, and I think that might be a little curious too, Frank, but I think it's there because Manita specifically said that she would like to make those comments under the public comment section. I don't know if you recall that. That's where she decided to make those.
I mean, I don't have a strong feeling about it. It just seemed odd.
It made sense to me because she was reporting public comment.
As a report, right? Yes, there you go.
I would move approval of the minutes. That's Terry.
I'll second. It's Heather.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Could I just ask, Ike, is that the posting that you were showing us on the library website?
Yeah.
Is that our means of being in compliance with the open meeting law regulation that now asks that we post things in advance?
Yes, that, and then also we do put the agenda and then whatever packet items we have available in advance. Yes, so that does help to keep us in compliance.
So next we turn to the approval of expenditures. The approval of the October prepaid checks 69378, 69379, and 69457 to 69458, totaling $859.50. We also need approval of the November warrants number 694 to 69532, totaling $133,001.41. Does anybody have any questions about the warrants? If there are none, then I would entertain a motion to approve the expenditures.
I move to approve the expenditures.
Second, Terry.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Janet was the first, Terry was the second.
Okay, Janet, thank you.
You're welcome, Denise.
And then we have to approve the financial reports, which include the October prepays and November warrant summary sheet, the budget report, the income report, and I guess we need to accept a gift of $250. Does anybody have any questions about the budget report? I didn't see anything unusual here. I don't know if anybody else did.
No, and I don't believe there is anything out of the ordinary. I don't know if Eric has anything to add.
No, I made the allocation that was approved last time, but outside of that, nothing out of the ordinary. Or reallocation, I should say.
Okay, and then we got a gift of $250 from Laura Chodos in memory of Tom Kirshner. I guess we formally accept that as well, like, right?
That's correct. Yep, that's correct. And then to point out a couple other things on the income report, you'll notice under donations in October, there, that number for October includes that gift in memory of Tom Kirshner. It also includes support from the Friends for Staff Day.
Okay, I would entertain a motion to approve the financial reports as reflected in A, B, C, and D.
So moved, Terry.
I'll second that. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Those reports are approved.
And just so everyone knows, in case they didn't see her come in, Katie has joined us now. Denise, I don't know if you need that for the minutes.
Okay. Next up is the president's report. As you all know, Manita Sungvi resigned after winning her election on the Saratoga Springs City Council. That creates an opening on the board. To fill that, I am going to name a nominating committee consisting of Katie and myself. If anybody knows anybody who would be interested, if you could please contact Katie or myself or Ike. And so we can hopefully fill the vacancy as soon as possible. The person who eventually is appointed would only serve until the next election. Later on, I have a suggested revision to the bylaw. I have two. One of them is to just to make that express about how vacancies work and when they're filled and how long the person who's appointed to it serves. It's, I think in the past, there may have been some confusion that a person who's appointed serves out the remaining term of the person who's left. But under the education law, that is not right. So that's one suggestion I have for the bylaws. the other thing I wanted to mention is that I did participate, and I know many of you did, in the trustee handbook book club last month. And I just thought it was really excellent. I thought it was really well done. And I don't know if you haven't had a chance to participate in the past. There's a couple of more. There's one this month, and I know there's one in December. It was very, very, very practical, and it was gave me a lot of insight, I thought. Also, you probably know, or you've heard, I think because there's a new law in the education law, new requirement that trustees receive a minimum of 2 hours of trustee education, and they'll have to file a certificate with the board president attesting to that. Basically, that law doesn't go into effect until 2023. So I imagine in the next year or so, they'll probably develop standards and standards for certifying, educators and who, but so that's on the horizon. And again, I would just recommend if you haven't had a chance to participate in the trustee handbook club, it was excellent, and I would recommend it. That's all I had.
Frank, I just want to observe, since many of us were congratulating Manita on her election, I think we also should congratulate Heather because she had a major role in Manita's campaign. Maybe we should both congratulate Heather and blame Heather since we lost Manita because of her successful work.
Congratulations to Heather for a job well done. Yeah.
And I'm sorry.
I'm glad we didn't lose Heather.
Yeah, right.
Alrighty. So next on the agenda is public comment. And Frank, I had a question for you. Also later on down the agenda, we have a report under new business from Claire Ingram, who's the president of the board of the Friends, who's here to join us. And we had a little bit of an exchange earlier today about where's the appropriate place on the agenda to put the report from the Friends, whether it should be under public comment, whether we should bump it up, or whether we should leave it down under new business. I don't know if you have a thought about that.
I think if Claire, I'm glad Claire's here. We welcome her. If Claire wants to speak, I think it should be under the public comment section of our agenda, under the piece of our agenda. I think her report should fall under correspondence and communication. So if Claire would like to update the board, which I know the board would welcome, this would be the time, I think.
All righty.
Thank you, Frank. Calling in today because I have to run momentarily out of the house. I wanted to make sure I was available for everyone whenever I came up on the agenda. And I appreciate the feedback. Feels like it was quite some time ago since we met in person and I was able to join that meeting. I'm happy, honestly, it doesn't really matter to me where on an agenda or not on an agenda the Friends is best located. My primary interest is ensuring that we have, whatever dialogue is deemed to be most appropriate and whatever format is most appropriate to ensure that we've got a good relationship between the Friends as an auxiliary of the library so that the Friends can continue to support the library both through fundraising and offsetting, costs and extending the work of the library through donations, but also in ways, non-monetarily that the Friends can support the library's programming and services. So whatever that is deemed to be, I'm happy, whatever it would be most successful.
This is just about form, not substance. We totally welcome you, and we want to continue this symbiotic relationship. It's really about form. Yeah. We're eager to hear from you.
So that's wonderful. So I'm not going to repeat everything that was in the memo that went out, and apologies that was coming out today. Suffice to say, we've had a busy few months. We're really not leaving any stone unturned, looking at all of our processes, our policies, how we do a lot of the things, some which happened previous to COVID and some which didn't. So we've made headway in our membership activities, our bookshop operations, and most uniquely, I think, is our relationship with Saratoga Book Festival, which had its inaugural festival last month. And Ike was intimately involved in the success of that. So thank you to everything that he did and that the library staff did in hosting kind of the headquarters for the day and dispersing all of the badges and everything that businesses saw around town. We're looking forward to seeing what the future relationship between the festival and the Friends will be. Certainly a close one, but the exact nature to be seen. And on the public relations side, we're busy trying to get the word out that the Friends exist, the bookshop exists, and to grow our reach so that we can promote both ourselves and the library's activities. Lastly, on a general recruitment plug, we are actively looking for new board members as well as committee members. We are in part because of natural turnover and then also in part because of a lack of recruiting during 2020. We are numerically challenged on the board right now, so we're trying to rectify that and looking for new members. And then just some ongoing things. Thank you again to Ike for offering to let us use space in the community room for a mini retreat to actually meet for the first time ever as our current board. And we appreciate the opportunity to do that. I know that it's a unique circumstance, so thank you. And we're just kind of looking at our bylaws and making sure that we're up to date on what should be included in there and continuing to grow. So we welcome any feedback from library staff, from the board on opportunities to help collaborate to support services, whether that is through gifts and focusing our fundraising efforts, or if that's through promotion of the library services.
Great. Thank you so much. You are welcome anytime.
All right, thanks, Claire. And just to echo Frank, we really are grateful for the support. And also we happen to know somebody who used to be on this board who might be available for board duty. And it's
Thanks for the tip.
Yeah.
I'm going to sign off, everybody. Thanks very much and have a great night.
All right, thanks, Claire.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Pulver.
All righty, so let me.
Is that, I assume that's the end of the correspondence, communication, public comment?
It is, yes. Yep. Let me get back to the packet here. All righty, so our big news is that in addition to our reopening status, we're continuing to make our incremental changes. Just at the beginning of this month, last week actually was the first week we opened the teen room. Haven't had many takers yet. The hours are limited. We haven't, we did a soft reopening of that space, but just to let people know that there are now some afternoon hours available in the teen room. Where there will be staff members in there on Tuesdays and Thursday after school hours. Our other big news is that after some delay, the wheels of school service turn slowly, but we are very pleased to report that beginning on Monday next, Kelly McCombs will start with us as our new human resources manager. As you see, we had a fairly sizable panel of library staff conduct the interviews. We did them by Zoom for a couple of reasons. One, because facing this many people in person for an interview situation might be a little bit daunting. And then number two, because of where we are in our health emergency. There were actually, believe it or not, a couple more people who were originally planned to be part of this group, but since we wanted everybody was participating to participate in all 5 of the interviews. So a couple people had to beg out because they weren't available for our whole times. But in the end, we did 5 interviews. We were very pleased with the quality of the candidates. And it came down to really two, and we chose the person with the most, really with the most public sector experience for us. And we're really looking forward to that. So along with a request to appoint Kelly, we have a couple requests to appoint 2 additional people as part-time library clerks in the computer center. These are folks who will be starting fairly soon in very part-time roles to augment some hours as we reopen, as we look toward expanding our reopening. That's the idea with Robin Ambrosino, who will start next month, and then to fill some hours that have been vacated by departures. We are having now a number of our part-time staff join, people who are retired from other places or who have full-time jobs other places. We're finding more and more people are scaling back in their working hours, and so that's why we have these vacancies in the computer center. We will have some upcoming vacancies. Actually, we have current vacancies that we'll be looking to fill in fairly short order with building monitors, cleaners, and building maintenance workers as well. So what I would be looking for at the moment is an official action to appoint Robin Ambrosino, Kelly McCombs, and Katie Random.
Okay. Would anybody like to formulate that motion?
I so move to appoint Robin how do you say her name, Mike? Ambrosino?
Ambrosino, correct. Yeah.
Ambrosino, Kelly McCombs, and Katie Rano.
I'll second. It's Heather.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? They're appointed.
And I know that was under the new business later down the agenda, but I figured since we were here, we should go ahead and take it. HVAC improvements, included in the packet that you received is a report of a kickoff meeting that Rick and I had with Megan Brennan from Butler Allen Mays Architects and our person from DeJezer Mechanics. It looks like, as we anticipated, there will be some pretty significant delays really procuring the equipment, which seems to be the story with any kind of construction related project lately. What we have decided is, because there are multiple pieces to, some bigger units, smaller units, is that if they may stage the work in multiple sections. If there's one large unit which at one point had a 24-week lead time, if they're able to get the majority of the equipment before that time, they may come in and put in what they can and then come back for a second deployment to complete the work. But at this point, all of that is really guessing until we have a better notion of what the timeline, the lead time for procuring the materials. With that, Saratoga Reads, I think most of you are aware that our long list of 14 titles is down to 5, which will be presented to the public. There's a little, that was presented to the public at the Friends-sponsored event at the Saratoga Book Festival. There hasn't been much more publicity or any more publicity of it really since that point, since Gina Michelin has been out on an extended leave, but she's back primarily working from home. But now that she is back, we will get together. She and Brendan Kozlowski will get together to get both an online version and a paper version of the ballot together to distribute to the public. And I think that's it. And then just to let you know that the field work for the auditors, I think, went very smoothly. As usual, there will be, they didn't encounter any hiccups in the process or in their field work, but they did discover a few things that we could be able to improve in our own processes, and those. So I anticipate that there may be a couple of I'm hoping insignificant findings of the audit, as there usually are. And I think that's it, unless there are other questions about my report. Want to move on to department reports? Yeah.
No, I can't. I don't. All right. I was just saying that I enjoyed your interview with Carol at the opening of the book festival.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I enjoyed it too. I'm glad you did. And it just, so you're aware, Carol's actually going to come, won't be an interview, but I'm the vice president for programs of the Saratoga Springs Rotary Club, which means that I am rounding up regularly speakers to come speak to the club, and Carol's going to come talk to us in December. That's one of our speakers there. Yeah.
Okay, department reports. I know Jennifer Ferris is here.
I am. Hi.
Hi, Jen.
I just have one, well, maybe two things to add to the report. I tallied up the cans, goods, and the instant soup and whatnot. And so far, about 100 items have been donated for Food for Fines. It's not all patrons returning goods in exchange for fines. We have some generous community members who actually heard about it and brought some pretty decent food down, and staff who have cleaned out their shelves. That's all right, because we want to help people who need the food. And then something else that wasn't on my report that is somewhat exciting, the literacy collection that was downstairs in the literacy room behind closed doors and not available to the public in an easy way is now located outside of the teen room location near our private meeting space where tutors hope to be working at some point in our future as we reopen, and are now available for anyone to borrow throughout the entire SALS and MBLS system. So we hope they get some good circulation.
That's great.
That project relates to our human resources manager recruitment, and we did and our examination of the way we use some spaces, et cetera. So the human resources manager had been sitting in an office that is now vacant, which is next to mine. We're preserving that for sometime in the future to be filled by an assistant library director. The human resources manager will go back to an office that the person in that role occupied for several years, which until this week was occupied by Marianne Rockwell, who is our literacy and assessment librarian. And Marianne has moved into the adult services workroom. And in the process of all of that, that's when we made the decision to relocate the literacy materials that had been, as Jen said, behind locked doors, to get them out in the public, get them in a more easily accessible space. And then our plan is the desk where Marianne is sitting is a desk that was previously occupied sort of part-time by Friends volunteers doing some sorting of materials. Since Marianne is sitting there, the outer office that's in front of an inner office where the Friends have been using for a while, now they'll have access to that entire space. And it was kind of an awkward situation when the outer office was being used for tutoring and they had to kind of cross through it to get to the office behind that space. So now we'll give them access to that whole space in exchange for reclaiming another space that we had allowed them to use in the library.
What's going on with the cafe space?
The cafe space is still currently occupied with Friends donation sorting. They have a direction to begin clearing that space out so that they're completely out of it by January 1. So that if we do have people who might be interested, or we have an idea for a different notion of how it is to be used, it will be available for that. We don't have any idea of what the next use might be or who the next tenant might be, but they're in the process of clearing it up.
Hey, Jen, all the fines are like pre-March 2020? All the outstanding fines?
Yep.
Do we know how much that is?
No.
No.
I mean, we get a report of all outstanding fines. I would have to run a report specifically for prior to March 2020.
I was just curious. It's like how many people are gonna, if they've been outstanding that long, like what are the chances that they're gonna bring back the item? I don't know.
Well, some of it, so this food for fines thing is for overdue fees. It's not for lost or damaged materials. So, but we do have people still coming in every once in a while who have these old fees on their record, but it's significantly less than the past 2 years because you voted last year to remove overdue fines.
And
Thank you.
another thing that I wanted to point out about Jen's report, which we may begin to incorporate into the department reports, as you will recall that for the previous several years, we've done the reports according to the strategic initiatives and the strategic plan. We are sort of working our way toward changing up the format of the current reports to work those into the department and other reports as well. And Jen was the first one to take the plunge, kind of without direction. She took the initiative, but she's a good role model for us.
Thank you, Jen. Is Catherine here?
Catherine is here, yeah.
Hi. So there's quite a bit in my report about programming. One thing you might notice is we're kind of transitioning now in the cold weather, so a little bit less of the outdoors, but we're still having story time outside and people are still coming. Definitely the cold, we're seeing an uptick in foot traffic downstairs. Even just this morning, lots of families were in. And the librarians are kind of keeping on their toes, pivoting. We're, adding more take to make crafts, things like that. So things are going well. We're working on getting the teen room to have some teens come in, but it's only been the first week, so we're getting there.
I see there are 2 interns. That's good.
Yeah, it's a program that we used to participate in with the work experience through the high school. So the 2 we have now have been here about a month and a half, and we'll be getting new ones next month. So they change them up so they all get to try new things.
Okay, if nobody has any questions for Catherine, thank you. I'm going to assume Jen did not make it.
Yes,
Jenna.
Jenna is not here.
And Rick is not.
That is correct. Yeah.
Okay. I think we kind of covered reopening status in your report. And
I think we did. Yep.
We recovered new business request to appoint. We got a report from the Friends.
Yeah.
So I think the only remaining thing is my suggested revisions to the bylaws. So I had 2 suggested revisions. The first one is basically would remove the position of finance officer from the board. As long as I've been on the board, the finance officer hasn't had any special duties. I think that's because it's the nature of the library organization. This library, being a public library, it's dependent on and gets its income from tax dollars. A finance officer, in my understanding, usually might be someone who's doing a lot of fundraising, long-term financial planning. And I don't think it really fits with our board. I know that Manita had often been a little frustrated by the lack of things for her to do, and I think that's just because it doesn't really, we don't really need one on this board. And I think that's even more so because once we appointed Eric, any duties that the finance officer would have performed are performed by Eric. So I was suggesting that we just eliminate that position because it doesn't seem to have a substantive role. The other suggestion I had was to just to make it, I mentioned this earlier, was to make express what the rule is regarding how vacancies are filled, to what extent the person who fills a vacancy serves, that is till the next regular election. I don't know if Eric has any thoughts about the finance officer, my request to revise it, eliminate the finance officer.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. You know, we've talked about it there. I mean, even with the like library investment policy, there's not a lot of places that you can, you know, even invest money outside of like a CD or something like that. So I don't really see a lot of opportunity for a finance officer to.
Because it's very limited as a public entity, we're very limited in where we can invest our money.
Yep.
Right.
Yes.
So Frank, these changes are consistent with whatever the state guidelines are, correct? It doesn't require a library board to have a finance officer, or?
I found no requirement. It's not in our charter. I've seen other bylaws where they don't have a finance officer. So I'm aware of I'm not aware of any requirement that a library have a finance officer. It would make sense for some libraries, you know, but I don't think it really makes sense for ours. It kind of creates a position that for someone who I would think get a little frustrated in, because they're not really examining the finances or, you know, looking at the cash flows the way the treasurer is. And so that's kind of my reasoning. I don't know if Ike has any thoughts about it, or if anyone else does, please.
Well, yeah, no, I agree with you that it has changed a little bit since we have him, you know, the bylaws were rewritten when we had some personnel changes with Marge's retirement, and there was a new understanding of what the role of a treasurer could be, should be, whether that person should be a trustee. Then at that point, we hired a trustee. So now we have a staff member as a trustee. I'm sorry, who's a treasurer who's not a member of the board. Changed the role of the person on the board from treasurer to finance officer. And that might have been, I agree, maybe more of a semantic change than a substantive one. So I think I agree that since we have staff who fulfill many of these roles, it's probably unlikely necessary.
Frank, I support, I think both of your suggestions are good ones. I just have a question about the process for changing the bylaws. Are we able to act at this meeting, or does it need to lie over?
So
it needs to,
I'm sorry.
I was going to say it does need to come back. Yeah.
We would have to approve it at this meeting if we're in favor of it, and then we would have to approve it a second time at a subsequent meeting for the change to actually take effect. So I guess if anyone had second thoughts, we could, you know, it could be revisited or voted down the next time. But if we approve it now, the changes won't take place until a second vote is taken. Does anybody have any other thoughts? If not, I am going to make a motion to amend the bylaws as reflected in the proposed changes before you. That is, one would have the effect of eliminating the finance officer, and one, it just makes explicit what the rule is regarding filling appointments for vacancies in the trust on the board. Appointing a new trustee to fill a vacancy.
This
That's
is
my
Katie.
motion.
This is Katie. I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that motion carries. Thank you.
Before we adjourn, Ike, I had a question based on the handbook, Sal's info session that I went to. One of the things that they suggested was creating some kind of a spreadsheet or some way to track that every 5 years we are reapproving policies at the library. And so I just didn't know what our plan has been. You know, if that's something that you track and then you bring them. I know periodically we would get things from Tara because there were changes that were happening with the laws and things, but I just didn't know where that sits with all the policies and whether it's something you track for us or we should be creating a system to do so.
You know what, I can do it or we can do it together. I mean, I think it's probably something, I think there's an implied question in there is, do we have a regular program of reviewing the policies every 5 years? And the answer to that is we review that. Our practice has been to review them as needed rather than on a schedule. So the answer to that question is no, we haven't done them routinely in any kind of scheduled way. I have no objection to that. I think it's a great idea and I think we can definitely do it. And I think probably the place for that to live is with the library rather than the board where there's turnover.
Right.
And we can definitely work on a system to do that. Having said that, we do, like I say, we do review the policies as needed. And as you know, we're undergoing a pretty thorough sort of audit of them at the moment with relation to our equity, diversity, and inclusion initiative. So just about every policy that we have is getting a good looking at the moment. And there will probably before long be a flurry of them, a flurry of updates coming your way. We'll try not to wallop the board with them all at once, but Frank and I were talking earlier, and maybe something like you just had the trustee handbook book club. Maybe we do a library policy handbook book club or a policy a month club or something. So we'll have a regular scheduled way of making sure that everything comes before you in an orderly fashion.
Yeah, I think that's great. And I think if there aren't, 5 coming in one meeting, if we had any questions or something, we can kind of digest them more. So yeah, all right, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
The way I read this regulation, the board must have approved written policies for the operation of the library, which will be reviewed and updated at least once every 5 years or earlier if required by law. It doesn't say the board has to do the review. I think, we're not the experts, you're the experts, so, but the idea that they're being reviewed, and there's some kind of timetable, I think that would satisfy what the regulations require anyway.
I think that makes sense.
It's also perfect timing with the strategic plan, the fact that you're looking at all these things anyway, it's great.
Yes. Yep.
But if you want the board's input or, of course, we're here.
Yeah, no, and I think it's actually a very good idea to, we do make a handbook available to all of the new trustees, but it's a lot of paper and stuff coming at you at a time. So having a regular review of something at the meetings, I think is maybe a good approach.
Yeah, I hate to put more on your plate. Let's get that assistant director going.
Okay.
All right. I don't think there's anything else. Is there, Ike?
No, I think that's it.
All right. Thank you all. Have a good evening. We are adjourned.
Bye.
Good night, everyone.
Take care.